Hello, everybody, and welcome to our post-match and player ratings for the match the other night between Manchester City and Everton at Goodison Park. Tonight, I'm obviously joined by Ross. How you doing, mate?
Hey, Kurt. Yeah, I'm good, mate. How are you? Hope you're well.
Yeah, not too bad. Bit of a busy one the last couple of days, obviously, hence why it's been a bit of an early one this morning, guys. Sorry for all you guys who were waiting for the vlog that never came, but it's here now. And for all the guys that can't catch it live, make sure you jump into the comments what your player ratings, thoughts on the games, and everything else, because we'd love to hear about it. But we'll just while we're waiting for a few of the guys to get into the comments and a few people to get the notifications, I'll sort of just go down obviously the starting lineup, and then we'll get into some hellos. We started off with back five of Edison, Walker, Diaz, Laporte, Zinchenko. Fernandinho in the holding row with Gundo and Bernardo Silva either side, and the front three of Foden, Jesus, and Sterling. Before the game kicked off, Ross, what were your initial thoughts with the lineup? Were you happy with the amount of rotation, the player selected, or was there any gripes you had pre-kickoff?
Yeah, I was pretty happy with the lineup, to be honest, Kurt. I thought Stefan would probably be in because he'd played the last few FA Cup games. Back four, I'm always upset. It always seems to be John Stones who's the one who misses out, but probably because I think that's probably saying he's one of the two first choices, so give him a rest. Strong midfield. I thought Ferner would be in there. Probably the only surprise is I thought Aguero might have got a start, but was I happy with it? Yeah, I thought it was I think we said, didn't we, on Friday, we've got 15, 16 players who all deserve to start at the moment.
Yeah, selections obviously one of Pep's biggest headaches given the quality of our squad, but I tend to agree with you. Felt like this is probably one of the last opportunities Stefan's going to get his chance in the net, so it was nice to see him get that opportunity. I like the back four. Just on your point about Stones being the one to drop out, it always seems to me that it's Diaz seems to be the aggressive defender, and whoever's next to him is the ball-playing defender, which seems to be why we see a bit less of Stones and Laporte against players where they had people like Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin are really going to give your centre-backs a bit of hard work. So having Diaz in there is probably quite essential, and having the left foot on the other side was really nice to see. I don't mind what pairing happens, but I feel like the strongest pairing has Diaz in it just because of his obviously leadership skills and organizational stuff and like that. So it's like you said, it's not nice to see Stones not get the nod sometimes, especially it would have been nice to see him play against Everton, but whoever out of those three plays is just mustard. But I'll get into some of the comments, see who's on, and say hello to people. We got Charlie. He's saying, hi guys, I'll be watching this one at college just before I go in. Come on, City, mate. Me and Ross were joking just before that. That's what we used to do, mate. If I was at work and needed to watch something good, you just go, I've got to go toilet, mate, never to be seen for another 45 minutes, mate. So I hope you're doing well. And Ross is saying, yes, Charlie. Charlie's just a chin wag between themselves. He's in the library watching this. Good lad, mate. Headphones on, just sitting in a corner somewhere. No one will know, mate. No one will know. Good after yesterday's win. Yeah, I think a lot of us, I was really nervous. Carlo Ancelotti in a knockout game, he doesn't muck about. This guy knows what he's doing, and he knows how to set up a team for a knockout tie. And I think we were really happy to get the job done. Andy Blue Moon's on. Hello, mate. How are you? He's saying, hi, Ross. Hope your father's okay. I don't know if you want to.
Cheers, Andy. Yeah, he's still pushing on in hospital, guys. But I appreciate your all the comments and wishes I get. So every time I call him, I'll let him know, and hopefully he'll be watching and back on the chat as soon as possible.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, mate. We're all family here, pretty much, And Jack Lee's on said, "Good morning, Blues." Hello, mate. Hope you're doing well. And the formidable Centurions with the 100 in there, mate. I love their name. Hello, how are you doing, mate? And that lead us quite in nicely. I'll just sort of it was a bit of a strange game, obviously, with the way Everton set up. It was to stifle us and really limit our opportunities. But the first half, I thought it was a very hard fought win. I think that obviously, like I say, the Everton's tactic was to set up to frustrate, and they did that for long periods of the game. I thought they were very defensively solid in terms of limiting our abilities to create opportunities with the 3-5-2, and obviously having Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin are both players that can cause any defender a headache on their day. And I thought they did a good job. But on the City side, we do what we always do in these situations, and that's just not panic. keep probing, keep trying to work our opportunities and trying to make the keeper make saves. And speaking of the keeper, I think for a third choice keeper, the keeper last night had a really good performance, especially obviously the save from Sterling effort fingertips, and also it was a fantastic potential assist from Fernandinho, just showing what he's all about and what the man can do. He was a real man possessed in that particular game. The first half saw us have 77% possession over the course of that half. As I said, we dominated in terms of control of the game, but we're limited to not particularly a large amount of efforts outside Sterling and a couple pop shots from Foden. I think really the game turned when we started to see our substitutions come on with Mahrez and KDB respectively. Mahrez at the 64-minute mark and KDB at the 80-minute mark. And then we saw the break. We saw big build-up on the right-hand side, very, very controlled. We saw Laporte stepping into midfield. Mahrez passes it in. Laporte sees players backing off, so sees space, so he just keeps moving forward with the ball. Sees KDB making a run, gives the ball to KDB. KDB has some great footwork to get past the first player. Potential foul on him, but the ref says play on, and Laporte staying alert and just ready for whatever could happen. Takes a shot with his right foot, smacks it against the crossbar, and who's there but the man, the myth, the legend, Silky Ilky, alive as always and ready to head it home to break that duck and get the deadlock broken for City to be 1-0 up. And obviously, at that point, Everton sort of had to come out, and that just led to more opportunities. And then on the 90th minute, we saw the sub Rodri with a absolutely fantastic first-time progressive ball to KDB's path after Rodri initially won a second ball from Everton. And KDB's control was just fantastic. His footwork to get it onto his left peg and then sticks it in the back of the net comfortably, seals the game for a 2-0. And I thought just a really, really classy performance in a knockout tie against a tricky opponent with a very good manager. I don't know what your thoughts were on the game overall, if there's any points that I've missed that you want to talk about in particular, Ross, for the game the other evening.
No, pretty good summary that, Kurt, as usual, mate, from you. The one thing I was a bit surprised for when we talk about lineups, I was surprised that Keane missed out for Everton. Obviously they went with three centre halves at the back, and Keane wasn't one of them.
I think it was due to pace.
Yeah, he's been playing great though, hasn't he? So that was a big thing for them. He obviously wouldn't have been happy. But I thought Everton did pretty well. But it was, if I was an Everton fan, I probably would have been a little bit disappointed that they didn't go for it a bit more in a one-off FA Cup game with the best chance of winning something that they've got. I think if you spoke to many Everton fans, they probably would have been disappointed with that. I think when obviously De Bruyne came on, but I also thought Mahrez had a real positive impact when he came off the bench as well. I thought those two players really just upped the ante a little bit for City, and obviously helps us break that deadlock with, what was it, 2 in the last 6 minutes. So
yeah, I completely agree with you. That's why I specifically mentioned Mahrez as well, because I know there was a big gap between the subs, but we really started to see the pressure and a bit more something about them. I think we're a bit grabby and a bit snatchy with some of our chances in the first half. We could have probably developed the play a little bit more, but Sterling and Foden just seemed really keen to get their shots off, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I think the front three didn't have the greatest performance. I don't know whether that was just due to them playing a really low block with three guys in the midfield and three centre-backs. It just makes it difficult. But yeah, like you said, when the subs come on, that's when the really game changed. And Kevin De Bruyne only having sort of like 10 or so minutes, 12 minutes on the pitch, but really making his impact. I thought he really drove us forward when he came on, because it's not normally you see a sub come on for the last 10 minutes of the game and really have an impact, but it's not the first time. I remember when KDB came on in the cup final, was on for 30 minutes and got himself man of the match in 30 minutes. He was that good against Watford, so he's a player we all know is capable of that.
Yeah, and I think he'd had his hair cut as well, Kurt. So
potentially,
my theory on that.
Well, to be fair, footballers are so used to getting it done every game day. It's like every 3 days for most of them, isn't it? So you can understand why they like to change it up when it's getting done so much. But we've got a comment from Anthony Linden. He says, "Hi guys, the Blues did fantastic against Everton. We got an exciting Champions League draw. To my wife Rosie and I love your content, and Ross, all the best to your dad, my friend." Thank you very much for that. I'm sure Ross is bloody grateful, and I'm really glad that you enjoy the content. I know it's a bit of a changing things up, doing a bit of an early morning one, so it's nice for some of the other guys who watch our content from other parts of the world. You can probably get it at a bit more of a favourable time for once, so hopefully that's nice for you. And Charlie, is it night over there in Australia? What time is it? What time is it now for you, Ross? Local time?
It's 9:10. Everybody tuning in. I've just had a nice Ruby Murray for me tea, cooked by the wife. And I'm just having a second beer, and I just finished watching the Melbourne City game. I think 80 minutes had gone when I jumped on the stream with Kurt, and they were 2-0 up. So another good performance from City's sister club here in Melbourne.
Happy days, mate. Happy days. Andy agrees with you, Ross. Everton didn't really threaten. Stefan are really quiet, but I suppose credit to our back four. I think, honestly, our back four played really well. I know, obviously, we limited their chances, but I thought all four of them put in some really solid efforts, particularly Laporte and Zinchenko, I thought were absolutely outstanding. In terms of, obviously, the defensive output, I thought was equal, but them two in particular really drove us forward. And Zinchenko's defensive header was, I don't know, I can't really remember even if it was going in, but I remember at the time thinking, bloody hell, I'm glad he got a hold of that. So yeah, I think everyone in our back line is definite credit to them. Neil Handstock saying, I think we're emulating the great Aussie cricket team philosophy from the 90s, known as mental disintegration. I think that's pronounced right. Maybe my reading skills have failed me. We pass the opposition into submission and beat them with natural ability. That's exactly what we do. Like I said in my assessment, we keep the pressure on, we keep probing, we don't panic, we keep to our patterns of play and our style. And that sometimes it can be frustrating to watch, but after watching Pep for this long, you can have nothing but faith. I don't know if you agree with that, Ross. I always feel comfortable. I never get worried in games, even if it gets to the sort of 75th, 80th minute.
No, I think if I'm being really honest, Kurt, to answer that question, the last time I was worried about formations and team was probably Leon. Since then,
I completely agree with you.
The only time, yeah,
I completely agree with you.
Great. Got so much, like me and you were talking earlier about 15, 16 players right now who deserve to play. And I heard a great comment from someone today, Kurt, made me laugh, that John Stones on his own is a mid-table Premier League club.
Because people play on their own 1v11, don't they? That's how it works.
Yeah. Yeah. So it just made me laugh.
The lunacy of something, like, the thing is, when you got to write something down, you've also got to think about it to its logical conclusion. And if its logical conclusion makes no sense, you should probably rethink what you're saying, mate. But hey ho, that's how it goes. Charlie saying Fernandinho bossing the midfield at 35 years old. I think he did more than boss it, mate. He was. If there's, I watch a lot of wrestling, and there's a term called a ring general, and a ring general is someone who controls the pace of the match. And Fernandinho is a football general because he controls it. He dictates, and he is. I love that man so much, and whatever he decides to do, I am happy with whatever he decides to do because he has earned that right for me, and I will smile every time I hear that man's name. And I just hope I can get to see him in the stadium as soon as we can get back in. The Formidals are saying, I think the false nine with KDB up front is potentially our only way if we are to win the quad, mate. I'm more worried about getting wrapped up the Premier League as quickly as we can, making sure we do the business against Spurs, and anything other than that, mate, is what you call icing on top of the cake, mate. But I can understand people getting excited for the idea of a quad. It is exciting, but it's just something that I'm not thinking about. Until we're in the FA Cup final and the Champions League final, it's not a reality for me. Lachelle Blues on saying, damn, 6 a.m. Good morning. Well, hello, mate. Enjoying your early mornings. Ray Fernley's on. Hello, mate. Hope you're doing well. Andy Blue Moon saying, Dino in front of our back four was brilliant. I just thought he was brilliant at all phases of play, picking up the ball in transition, defensive phase, attacking phase. He can move with the ball.
Oh,
he's just
that run, Kurt. He turned back the clock, didn't he? I just wanted him to have a shot. Like, just didn't fall right for him. He didn't sit quite right. But what a great little run! And a few of the comments there, just purely for Martin. I hope we give him a 4-year deal. So in 4 years, we're on Man City Fan TV talking about, should we give him another 2 years when he's 39? Be brilliant.
Oh, mate, I love the bloke. There's certain players that I just even I can't help but just adore him, what they do for our club and just what he represents. And obviously with Rodri having such good performances recently that I don't think any City fan can say Rodri's been playing poorly recently. For Fernandinho to come in and just say, look, this is what I'm all about too, and us just have options at central defensive midfield like them two is just a blessed position to be in, an absolute blessed position. Charlie's saying, I've got to go now, but I'll make sure to watch it back, guys. Make sure you do. And for everyone who isn't able to catch it live and join in with the player ratings, make sure you leave a comment in the comments below after this has gone live onto YouTube so we can see what your guys' thoughts. And because I'd love to hear what some of you guys, because I know a lot of the guys can't always catch it live. So make sure you do that. And I'll take care, Charlie. Have a good day, mate. Andy's on. He's saying, hello, everyone. Sorry, just a flying visit. Hope everyone is okay. Alec Johnson, if you read this, you need to send me your address via email, and it's at mcfcfantv@gmail.com. Links are all in the description, Alex, so make sure you do get in touch so we can get that sent over to you, mate. Jack's just saying hello. Oh, he's had his vaccine yesterday and he's feeling great. Good to hear, mate. I know some people were a bit rough with it. I know my mum and my sister are a bit rough with it. So glad to hear it's not doing too badly for you, mate. Glad to hear it's not too bad for you. Where are we? Big jump in the comments. Addy's saying the false nine with KDB up top is by far our best formation. I think a lot of people would probably agree with you there in that sense. Quad far too way to think about. One game at a time. Exactly, Jack, mate. Exactly. Andy Bloom saying, I can see Dino having another year. I don't think it's the question about another year. I think it's just a question about what Fernandinho wants. Does he want to sit and play 20, 25 games for us, or does he want to just get playing every match somewhere else? It's down to him. And like I said, he's earned the right to do whatever he wants to do. I won't hold it against the bloke. He's a top lad, and I love the bloke. But now we'll get into the second part of the show. Obviously, the match itself wasn't exactly the most entertaining match, given the way that Everton set up. I know some Everton fans might be disappointed, like you said, Ross, that they didn't go for a bit more. But looking at the lineup, I felt like that was one of their best ways to give us a hard game, is keep that tight for 75 minutes and roll the dice in the final 15. And they rolled sixes against us. They rolled ones against our sixes, mate, and it just wasn't going to happen. So we'll start off with the main man in goal getting his well, not the main man, the other man in goal getting his chance, which I was really happy to see, like we mentioned earlier, was Stefan. So everyone get your ratings in for the main man, Stefan. I'll start. I thought really didn't have much to do. Comfortable couple saves, bit of a dicey one when he had to come out and missed it. I think by the by, nothing too special. I just gave him a solid 6. For me, I don't know what your thoughts were on Stefan, Ross.
Yeah, Kurt, think the same. Think probably the only dodgy moment was that running out, and he sort of went for it. But again, give him the positive. He got off his line quickly, and I think there was quite a lot of congratulations from Laporte and Diaz that he did that. So, like we say on the streams all the time, didn't do anything really badly. Didn't really have anything to do or didn't do anything amazing. So it's a 6 from me as well.
Yeah, and we'll go with see what Simon Bajowski's saying, as I've got it right up here beside me. He said, started with great composure, but was fortunate that Laporte stayed calm in the first half when he flew out his goal and missed his clearance. And Stefan agreed with both of us and gave him a 6, which I think is a very, very fair score, to be honest. And let's see what some of the boys are saying when the comments come through. We got Lachelle saying 7, played good with his feet. Yeah, I think his distribution's good. It's obviously not going to be as good as Edison's, but yeah, I think it was really good. Load of people giving outside doing their motoring, so good times. We've got Jack Leese giving a 7. Yeah, they love to just rev it round my ends, mate. And Neil Handstock saying Zach 6.5, not much to do. Yeah, I agree with you. Didn't have much to do. Addy saying Stefan had a good game, and the formidable Centurions has given him a 6.5. Well, I'll just wait to see if there's any more other scores coming through, and just waiting for the lowdown on the older comments. I just want to say it's really difficult for a second keeper at City, because we do go far in the competitions, but it's hard to, you're not ever really going to put Eddie out of the thing, but I think Stefan's done a good job of pushing him. I don't know what he's like in training, but from all accounts, he seems like a really, really solid guy, and I'm really happy. A good addition to the squad, I think. Good to have a young second keeper as opposed to aging second keeper for me.
Hey, Kurt, do you think he'll get a chance in the Carabao Cup final?
No.
He might know Pep's done it in the past, hasn't he?
I know he has as well. He's done it in the past. Villa Bravo and Caballero. Caballero was won us that penalty shootout, mate. So I think he might, but I just always think with a final, Pep's going to just go with his strongest lineup. I just feel like he goes to them. But let's just finish up on Stefan before we move on. See if there's any more. Peter Curry saying he didn't have much to do. Zinni cleared one off the line. To be fair, yeah, that was great clearance by Zinni. Zinni's great in the air, considering how small he is. To be fair. I think he's really good aerially. And, Peter Curry's giving him... Yeah, and then Lachelle saying it's a 7 minimum rating for me. So, but going through the comments there, it looks like a solid 7 from you boys. A little bit higher than we initially give him, but it's not about our ratings, as we always say. It's about the collective ratings, and that's Stefan for the 7. And I just missed one. Ray gave him an 8. Fair enough, mate. Moving on to our right back for this evening. Well, not this evening. For Saturday evening's game was Walker, who I thought had a really, really solid game. Did what he needed to do. Covered Richarlison in that left left hand channel, our right channel quite well. Wasn't asked to necessarily go as forward, I think, as much was Zinchenko in the team, but I thought had a very, very solid game, and I gave him a 7. I don't know what your thoughts on Walker was and your rating for Walker for the Saturday's game.
Yeah, I thought for me, Walker very rarely lets us down. I thought he got up and down well. He covered well. I actually thought he was quite considered and like with his passing at times, and he sprayed a few balls around. I gave Walker a 7.5.
Yep. And whilst we're waiting for some of the comments to load up, I'll just go through what Simon Bajalki's thoughts were on Kyle Walker. He said an intelligent performance using his experience to keep the flank quiet. He looked happier when Mahrez came on to take up the space in front of him and gave him a 7. I probably agree with most of what Simon Bajalski said. I do think he was a lot more comfortable when Mahrez came on. I think it was a fair point to make. But let's see what some of the boys and girls in the comments are saying. Lachelle saying 7.5 for Walker. Neil saying Kyle 8, back to his best. Yeah, obviously that COVID probably hit him more when he's obviously more of an athletic player than other people in our squad. So it hit Gundogan hard, but these players have bounced back and really, really, really coming along. Peter Curry 7.5 solid. Julio asking his age-old questions. Where is Chris Baker? I'm not too sure, mate. Maybe at work, maybe doing something, but he's not here this morning. You're stuck with just me and Ross's ugly mugs. Well, my ugly mug and Ross's face. Don't want to be too nasty. Chris saying Mahrez and De Bruyne saved City. I think it's just they came on and impacted the game. Hi from Japan as always. Hello, mate. Hope you're doing well. Eddie Moore for the Walker, we got the Formidables getting a 7.5. It seems to be a bit of a recurring theme with this. Andy getting back for the previous one, saying Stefan 6 and Walker 7.5. And it looks like it's pretty much everyone in agreement that Walker had a very good 7.5. Kept, like Simon Bajalski said, kept his flank really quiet, did his job, and I think he shows that level of experience that he's got now in his game. And credit to the man. A couple more of those came through a bit late. Addy going for a 9, and as I said earlier, Andy with the 7.5. Brian's given Walker an 8. So, yeah, very good game from the man. And his partner and right centre back was Diaz, who I thought had a good game, not his best game. I think Diaz is settling into this sort of groove he's got into. It's not quite the 8.5 out of 10s that he was having when he first came, but it's never less than a 7 for me for this guy. And I think he had a really, really solid game. And I gave him the same as Walker. I gave him a 7. I don't know what your thoughts on the man himself. One half of delicious.
One half of delicious. The guy's a colossal. Just that his maturity for his years on the pitch, the way he's speaking to older players, he just seems so positive. He never really has a go at anyone when they make a mistake. He's an arm around, and I just think the guy's going to be an absolute, we're just going to be a club stalwart. I just can't wait to see what he's going to do in the next 10 years in reality. in City. So I gave him exactly the same as Walker, which was a 7.5 for me.
Yep, and let's hear what Simon Pajowski thought of Ruben Diaz's performance. He said, Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin are really tough to play against. Diaz organised well and made sure City's lack of pace wasn't exposed. A 7. And again, I tend to agree. I tend to agree a lot with Simon this for his player ratings tonight for that game. I think he did. It's really tough. Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin ask a lot of questions in a lot of different ways. They ask similar questions to a lot of Burnley strikers, but then they also ask questions similar to a Leicester strikers playing in channels. So offering multiple threats, I think they did a really, really, really good job for me. Really good job. And let's see what some of the guys in the comments are saying for Diaz. Brian saying Diaz a 7. Ray getting for Walker was a 7 for him. CM City was a 7 for Diaz. Neil Handstock, Diaz 7.5. No nonsense as usual. Yeah, he's just a calming presence, and for his age, what a man. I wish I looked as big of a man as he did at his age, mate. I'm still trying to get there. Peter Curry giving Diaz a solid 7. We got Lachelle the Blue saying 8. Shiraf is saying, we watched your channel from Africa, mate. Well, thank you very much for watching. I don't know what the local time is over there, but I'm really happy that you're tuning in, and make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Brian saying that Diaz 7. Jack Lee 7.5 bargain, 7.5. Andy's giving him an 8. Dan's saying Diaz is class. He is class. Addy giving his standard 10 for Addy. We love to see it. I've missed your player ratings, Addy, mate. Always put a smile on my face. Julio giving Diaz an 8. John's on. Hello, mate. Hope you're well. We're just into the player rating sections now. So if you want to get your comment in for Diaz's rating, make sure you do that now. And it's not a problem for us, mate. We're just happy that some people all around the world are watching. I know we've obviously got a lot of people in Australia, and Julio's over in Japan, yourselves in Africa. So it's really great to get to chat to City fans from all over the continent, the globe, the world, all these different places that all support the same club we do. And it's great to chat as always. And Andy, as we're saying, welcome to Africa. Welcome from Africa. I don't know what rate that round should be anyways. But yeah, Jack Lee getting us all back onto the point. Make sure you hit the like button, Blues. Yeah, cheers for that, mate. And make sure you do. Ray Fairley giving a solid 7.5 for Diaz. So unless there's any other ratings for Diaz, let me look back and see what we're saying. It looks to me like it's a solid 7.5 for Diaz. Given throughout your comments, which I mostly agree with. I went a little bit lower, but I would not begrudge the guy at 7.5. I think he had a really, really good game. And moving on to his partner on the left side was our man Laporte, the man who just for some reason cannot get into the French team. Don't know who he's upset, but better for us. We don't have to worry about him on international breaks, so that's nice. And for Laporte, I thought Laporte was probably our best defender in all phases in terms of defense, progressing the ball, being a threat. He was obviously the catalyst that led to us breaking our goal. I thought he had a really quite imperious performance, and I gave him an 8. I thought he was the standout of the back 5 and had a really, really good game. What were your thoughts on Laporte's performance?
Yeah, Kurt, probably a little bit harsher, but I thought he did have a good game. I just had a little bit of a frustration with him. I wish he would have done what he was doing last 20 minutes of the game more in the first half. I thought it was pretty obvious that he had a lot of space ahead of him. For some reason, we seemed to have a lot more space on the left-hand side. Everton were affording us that. And rather than go forward and go direct, he seemed to be passing sideways and backwards quite a lot. Now, I think that was probably a confidence thing. But that's why I moved him down from an 8 to a 7.5, because although he then really progressed and went really positive back end of that second half, it sort of made me frustrated that he had it in his locker and he didn't do it. But nevertheless, good game, 7.5.
Yeah, as I said, I agree with you. He was a little bit timid in the first half, but I thought he had I think it was 5 or 6 aerial duels won. He had like 1 interception, 1 block, like 4 clearances. I think, like I just said, I think he had a really great all round game. And what's some of the other comments for Laporte's rating? I'll just go and see what Mr. Bajowski's saying for his performance. He says prefers the ball on the floor rather than aerial bombardment he was subjected to. He hasn't always been comfortable, but was good enough on a difficult evening and a surprise role in the goal. And he gave Laporte, agreed with me, and gave him an 8. So I think that's a very fair score from Simon Bajowski. He looked to be having a very reasonable night when he did this.
I think you've written this Simon's report.
Maybe I have, mate. Maybe I have. Maybe he's just coming and stealing my notes, mate.
Is that your fake name, like someone else we know? Maybe,
mate. If I could get myself into the presser and get to ask Pep questions every week, I wouldn't be using a fake name. That's for sure. So let's see what some of the boys in the comments are giving for Laporte. The Chel's kicking us off, and he gives him an 8.5. Brian's gone with an 8. Andy went also with an 8, agreed with me, and a lot of the boys in the comments there. CM City said 9, best game from him this season. I think it's one of his better games. I can't think off the top of my head if I think it's his best game, but it's definitely up there, that's for sure. Sheriff's given Laporte an 8. Jack Lee went with an 8. Peter Curry says 8, best game since he's come back, and completely agree with you there, mate. Julio's said Laporte is not in the French team due to his attitude issues. Fair enough. He seems fine with us, so fair enough. Neil Handstock saying Laporte 8, best performance since he returned from injury. It seems to be a consensus there that he had a really, really good game the other night. Ray's giving him an 8. The Formidable says, in my opinion, he was man of the match, 8.5. Addy says, totally agree with Ross's criticisms of Laporte, 10. We love you, Addy. We do love you, mate. Top bloke. Brian said, I see Pep and Gundo walk out the hotel apartments in Deansgate, Manchester. Was gutted going past. Oh, mate, unlucky. Just couldn't quite get to. We have to jump out. You just stop the car, jump out. Don't worry about the traffic, mate. You know, you got to take these opportunities when you get them. But yeah, a lot of people were really, really high on Laporte's performance last night, and I think looking at everyone's comments, there's obviously a couple 9s in there, a lot of 8.5. So I'm going to have to probably go with an 8, I think, overall. So Laporte, always capital the A as well, every time. And big 8 for Laporte. And I agree with you guys in the comments. Really, really good game. I was really happy with him. And moving on to the final man in the back four was one of my personal favorites, Mr. Zini Zinchenko himself. I thought Zinchenko had an absolutely brilliant game for me personally. Thought his defensive header was fantastic. I think he just, when Cancelo's not in the team, he's the closest thing we have to being able to progress the ball and having the comfortability on the ball. A lot of people give Zinny a bit of discredit where they say, oh, he passes quite short. He's always quite negative with his passes. Well, I see it in a different way. I see it as he's just not seeing an opportunity that's a progressive pass that would lead to an actual opportunity. So he's decided to recycle ball and rotate it around the pitch, which I don't necessarily see as a bad thing. Yeah, sometimes you've got to take the risk. But a lot of the times our complaints with Zinchenko was losing the ball in key areas and us not being able to get in defensive positions to cover for that. So him being slightly more conservative in his passing, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. And I gave him a 7.5. I thought he had a really, really good game. I don't know what your thoughts on whether man's in Zinchenko himself.
Yeah, so all about opinions, which is what we love on here, guys. And for me, Zinny was our best defender from performance-wise. Which is why I'm going to give him an 8. I was really impressed by Zinny. I think I was always a favourite because I just really respect how he's took that position as if, you know, if this is where I need to play to be part of this team, I'm going to take it. We've got to remember it. He is a midfielder for his international side and he's playing left back. And I think, as I was saying a couple of weeks ago on the stream, I actually think he's one of the, you know, there's probably 3 or 4 real left backs in the Premier League, and then after that, who's better than him at the moment on form? He's playing really well, and I know he's criticised about final ball and this and that. Like Walker is a little bit as well, but he gets up and down and he gets in the positions. And actually, sometimes I think we should give him the ball a little bit more because when he does hit the ball hard and low, He's really good for us, and I think he creates a lot of space. He helps the midfield. Like you, Kurt, I'm a big fan. Yeah, an 8 for Zinny from me.
Right, before we get into your guys' thoughts on Zinchenko, I'll just read out what Simon Pajowski's seen if the trend continues. And he said, an important header away from danger in the first half when Richarlison's header glanced towards goal. A useful attacking option as well, and gave him a 7. So it was a bit more understated than our ratings, but not a nasty rating at all. So we'll let you off, Mr. Simon Pajowski, for that one. Never shall anyone speak ill of my Zinny Zinchenko. But let's get into what you guys in the comments thought about Zinchenko and what your ratings were. Jack Lee's starting us off with an 8. Andy's saying Mr. Quadruple himself, an 8. It was harsh telling him off like that. The reporter twisted him a bit, you know what I mean? Like, come on, it was no need to do him like that. Pep was there. CM gave him a 7. Brian's gone 6.5. Lachelle 7.5, as good as Walker. Yeah, I think he was a little bit better for me than Walker, but yeah, they both the fullbacks had really good games. Formidables has gone with a 7. Oh god. Sharif's giving him a 6.5. Peter went with a 7. Mr. David Moyes, yourself, mate. I know you're not saying anything nasty, mate, but there's absolutely no need to spam the comments to high heavens. There's really not a need for that, my friend. But yeah, I appreciate your comments nevertheless. But yeah, not one every 5 seconds. Dan's given him an 8, and let's see if there's any more I've missed before we move on to Zinchenko. Addy's saying, I ask you this: who is better in the left back position, Zinchenko or Mbappe? Case closed. 10. See, this is why me and Addy get on. He's a man who understands football. He knows what he's talking about. Never let it be said that this man is biased, because it ain't true. He's just an honest. He sees what he sees, just like the rest of us. I love your comments, Addy. Top bloke. Ray's gone with an 8 for Zinc. So it was a bit of a mixed bag in the comments. There was a couple 6.5s, a couple 8s, a couple 7s. So I think probably a 7.5. I'm just seeing if I've missed anybody. I missed you, Neil. Sorry about that, mate. He says Zinchenko is 7.5. His defensive game has really improved, and he's getting close to scoring in recent games. I think he's just good at all phases of play. When you play left back for basically 3 years, you can't really say he's not a left back anymore. That's the position he's played for a long time now. So it's one of those. Let's see if I've missed any else before we move on and give him. And I think a fair 7.5, because it was quite a wide range for Zinny's ratings tonight compared to the other guys, but. Another good performance, and I don't think anyone in the back line really put a foot wrong. Good job for everyone. Now we're going to be moving on to the man I think everyone's very excited to talk about, and it is the main man for me, my favorite City player, the bald legend. He looked better with hair, but he looks great bald as well. Is Fernandinho, who had an absolutely imperious game for me. We'll finish off with man of the matches later, but for me, it wasn't even close. I thought he was a clear man of the match, and I gave him a 9, mate. I thought it was just quality, to sum it up in one word. And what was your thoughts on the man, the myth, the Mandinho?
I just can't believe how anyone ever doubts him. Like, why? You know, I'll say it 3, 4, 5, 20 times. Who is better in that position? To have a player like that at our club who is happy to not be first choice, and when he gets his chance, play like that and be a captain, and the respect he's got in the club as well. I think a game a couple of weeks ago, maybe even a week ago, I think KDB took the armband off and gave it when he came.
Sprinted to it.
That shows you what he means to the other players. Do you know what? Dad's army, bring it on, give him a 5-year deal. He's getting a 9 from me.
Yeah, because I remember I saw an interview with Phil Foden. They were talking about like leaders in the squad and stuff, and he mentioned Fernandinho, how he just helps everybody. If like there's something that Pep's missed and or someone looks a bit down, he'll bring it up to Pep, and he is that link between the players and the backroom staff that actually still plays in the squad. Obviously, very similar to Vinny, and he's obviously decided that he's going to take up that mantle at the club and. Not only helps everyone on the pitch, but I hear off the pitch, a lot of the foreign players, him and his wife, help people settle in Manchester, language stuff, schools, everything like that. he just seems like a great human being and an exceptional footballer. Yeah. And I love Fernandinho. What's not to love about him?
He gets a lot of stick as well. So in that game, he got fouled quite a bit. And I noticed as well, for some reason, Gomez could foul whoever he wanted, but not get a booking. But because it's Fernandinho, his first foul, which was a very tactical foul, straight yellow, straight away.
To be fair, Ross, I will counter that and say I saw David Silva hack many a men and never get a yellow for it. It's just the way it goes. They think because they're attacking midfielders, they don't know how to tackle, so we let them off. But Fernandinho knows how to tackle, so we're not going to let him off. It always seems to be that way in football. Like, you sometimes see strikers make tackles and you're thinking that's a foul, but because it's right up the top of the pitch, they're like, it doesn't get called. But yeah, let's see what some of the guys in the comments thought about Fernandinho and what their ratings were. CM starting us off with a 9 match of the match, echoing my thoughts right there. Sorry, what was the number you gave Fernandinho, mate? What did you give him?
9.
9, yeah. So agreed with both of us. Jack Lee saying 9, best signing since Aguero. Just trying to think anyone else. I don't want to write anyone off, but I think you're probably right, mate. I'm just thinking. I can't think of anyone else I'd probably have. Edison's been great. I'm not going to lie about that, but there's only one Fernandinho. Let's be real. But yeah, that's a really interesting thing. It probably is for me. I can't, unless I'm really forgetting someone and if I am, I'm really sorry about that. But it's hard to put anyone past the man himself. Brian's saying Fernandinho 10. He's like 35 and smashes it in every performance. Man of the match. Yeah, it's also because Pep gives him the time he needs. He obviously can't play every 3 days, but when he plays, he's always able to give 100%. And he's brilliant. Andy agrees with all of us. We should bin him off, get rid of him. He's too old, should go, but still give him a 9. He had an all right game. For a guy with a Zimmer frame, he moves all right. The Formidables has gone with an 8. Lachelle saying 9 for 22 years old. Yeah, he played like he just rolls back the years, doesn't he? He's just a quality player. Neil Hanstock's giving him an 8. Sharif saying Fernandinho 9.5, best performance. He was great. Man City fans having a jab at is that which way around is that? Because I get this mistaken all the time. Is he saying Casemiro is better than Fernandinho? Have I read that right? Or is he joking? Because I'm a bit confused.
I can't even put them into the same sentence.
Jack Lee, I'm confused about. I think you guys are getting these signs the wrong way around, unless you're just joking. Unless I'm stupid. Maybe it's early in the morning, mate. Maybe you got me. Ray's saying Ferner and 9, and I think that's exactly a great comment to leave it on before we move on to our next one. And he's saying 9, you can't buy experience. You really can't. And I haven't read out Simon Pajowski's thoughts on Dino, so let's see what he thought. He said, a clinic in how to boss a game from the base of midfield, reading every move from Everton made while powering forward in possession whenever the space opened up. And he agreed with me and gave him a 9. So I can't, in good conscience, give him anything less than a 9, boys. I'm sorry. So it's a 9 for the man.
I'm not sure, Kurt, I'm not sure whether they're meaning as the greater than, or they're just using it as a symbol saying they're the same as, or maybe they could clear it up for us. But that does mean greater than. But
maybe I'm just going. Maybe I'm just going crazy. Who knows? But yeah, Simon Bajowski just agrees with me. Just controlled the game, like I said about being a general of the game, just knowing what to do and knowing where to be and knowing what needs to be done. Great. But moving on to the man on the right-hand side of midfield was Bernardo himself. And I thought Bernardo had a relatively poor game, if I'm being honest. I think he was in probably one of the worst performing players, hence his substitution in our team last night. He's been brilliant for us for a long time, for long parts of this season. But yesterday, I don't think necessarily was his best game, and I really didn't think he was very good. I don't want to be too critical on the guy, but I didn't hold his performance in very high regard, and I gave him a 6. I don't know what your thoughts on Bernardo Silva was, Ross.
Yeah, I think it's back to what Andy always says. Nothing really bad, nothing really great. I'm going to go 6. I don't know what it is when we do change the team a little bit like that, and when we've got Fernandinho and Gundogan in the same, because obviously you do lose a bit of pace there. Silva for me just doesn't play as well, and I think maybe it's just where he played. I think he probably would have done better a bit further up the pitch, like in the Foden or Sterling position. But like I say, high standards, right? I'm not slagging him off or saying he was rubbish, but for me, he was just a 6. He's still grafted. He still does what Bernardo does. But yeah, it wasn't his best game. I think we've all seen him play better. Maybe he's the next one who needs a bit of a rest, because he has played a lot of games recently and he's played pretty well. So,
and he plays at high tempo. So
yeah.
And let's, before we jump into your boys' comments, let's see what Simon Bajowski made. He said, a few promising moments on the right flank, but struggled to weave a way through Everton's defence and was the first to be replaced, and he gave him a 6. So let's see what some of you guys' comments on Bernardo was. Andy saying 6.5 average. Yeah, I tend to agree with you there, mate. Sharif saying Bernardo was a 7. Man City fans saying I'm watching this instead of being in class. I can't say I advocate for missing out on your education, but if you are going to miss out, at least you weren't doing illegal things. You were watching a stream on YouTube, mate. So if you're gonna be breaking the rules, at least you weren't doing anything too naughty. You know what I mean? Neil Handstock saying Bernardo 7.5, understated but still good. Jack Lee went with a 6.5, still a grafter. I can't fault him too much. Yeah, it's difficult. Even when he has bad games, he still puts in the effort. But at the end of the day, we're playing at the highest level of football. Sometimes you've got to just say, look, he ran, but he didn't have a good game. And I think it was one of those. The Chow saying, you mean Rogalski? Yeah. So I've been told. Brian saying Bernardo 5.5. This season's as if he's been a massive drop off, and it's sad to see. Yeah, I think this particular game was a big drop off in terms of his performances recently. But you're allowed to have it's not like he had a bad game. He just didn't do particularly much. So you're allowed one of them, mate. Especially when you've got so many other quality players around you to pick up the slack if you ever do drop the ball a little bit. Ray's given Bernie a 7.5. Formidable's gone with a 6.5. Bernardo, did he play? Yes, he did play, mate. Lachelle's saying 7.5 brings so much to the team. Yeah, he does. Like I say, you're allowed off days. You're allowed to not. You don't have to be 7, 8 out of 10s every game. You can be a 6, 7 out of 10. That's what substitutions are for. That's why we don't have 11 plus 2 subs anymore. You know what I mean? CM City's gone with a 7. Ray Fernand's gone with fake bubble gum. was he the cheap stuff, like the one that goes out of flavor after like 2 minutes, and you're like, I've got to get rid of this one. So it was a little bit of a mixed bag, but quite a few 6.5s, a couple 7.5s. So I think dropping in the middle seems about fair. So you guys on the comments tonight want to give Bernardo a 7. Like I said, not his best game, but you don't always have to be 8 out of 10s. That's what we got subs for. That's what those options allow you to do. Moving on to the other man in midfield on the left side, the stalwart in that position, and a man who I thought didn't have actually the best of games, but when we needed him most was right there, and that's Gundogan. I thought him and Zinchenko on the left are really good just because they're so technical on the ball and they've got good control of the ball. You can always trust them to be good in possession. I think Sterling had a little bit of struggle in front of them just because of the way they set it up with 5. It's just difficult to really find any space. But he was the man alert to get the goal. He made some really nice passes. He had a couple good interceptions. What did I give him? I got it written down. I can't even remember. I gave Gundo a 7.5. I thought he had a good game, and you can't take away how much being in the right place. I know Andy for weeks and months was talking about gambling, and he might have an addiction, our friend Gundo. He might need to go to an AA meeting because he's gambling all the time, and it's paying off a lot at the moment. So what were your thoughts on Silky Ilky?
Yeah, Mr. Whippy. So I think that that goal moved him to 16 in all comps. So I think he's got 3 more than the closest City player now. That's 3 games, consecutive games that he's scored. That's the first time he's done that. Yeah, thought he played well, as we know. And then the word you use, Kurt, silky. He's sometimes like the ball is just stuck to his foot. The one thing I really like about him, and especially this season, is his movement off the ball. His movement off the ball to get into the position and to gamble. The finish, that wasn't, yes, people say it was an open goal. When he got there, he had to then judge the bounce and make sure he headed it downwards whilst diving forward. And I think that's why I probably say 7.5. I think I'll just give him a 0.5 for the finish.
For the finish,
and he just looks like he's loving his football. And I mean, I think that's the big City thing over the last few years. We fight to the end, and
I really think the COVID's done something to him, because I think it's very easy to get wrapped up in yourself and life in general, and then when you have these things, you realize people are dying. You've had something that could potentially have really affected his health. He's realized what a probably privileged position he's in. This is all just surmising from my perspective. What I assume is, I just feel like he's probably gone, you know what, I'm getting towards the end of my career. Health is very important. I'm blessed with the opportunities, and it's just seemed like it's given him that second lease of life, where he's like, just that extra 1 or 2%. And at the elite level of sports, 1 or 2% is absolutely everything, because everyone at this level is not bad footballers. They may have some bad moments, and we may get annoyed, but you don't play at Premier League football if you're not a good footballer. It just doesn't happen. And
exactly.
And
let's have it right as well, Kurt. Everyone, and rightly so, talk about KDB, but this year, and we talk about Delicious as well, but this year he's been absolutely integral to us. And there's someone that everyone keeps going on about down the road, and for me, he's having a better season than him. It's just
all about stepping up. We talked about it a lot of times. People stepping up, like Gundo. Since other players have left, he's the experienced guy in the squad, and he's the one. He's doing what he needs to do, and I'm really pleased with the bloke. I know he used to get a lot of stick. I used to think he was positionally misplayed and had to cover roles that weren't him. You don't play Gundogan as a DM. Sure, in certain games you can play it, but that was never his position. And he's playing in the right role now, and he's having the time of his life. But let's see what some of the boys thought about Gundo. Brian's gone with a 7, played decent. Yeah, he definitely did. Jack Lee, 7.5, great header. Yeah, it was, like Ross said, it's not just as simple as sticking your head on it. It's a whole different ball game. Especially when he wasn't coming onto it. He had to sort of wait for it, So it's one of those. Sharif's gone with a 7.5. Andy's gone silky 7, but 8 for the header. Yeah, like I think everyone's in agreement. It was fantastic. Gundo 7, so reliable, well taken goal. Lachelle's gone with an 8. I love ice cream. I'm not a big fan of ice cream, but I don't mind Mr. Whippy. For Middle's gone with an 8. Dan saying great assist like Laporte. Yeah, Laporte was excellent in that phase of play, just driving with the ball. It's what our centre-backs are able to do when people stand off us so much. It lets them do that, so you've got to do it. Gundo, miles clear of Fernandez. Yeah, he's having a great season. Mahrez, yeah, I thought Mahrez did a lot when he came on, but we're going to get into Mahrez a little bit later. This one's about Gundo now. Brian saying Gundo has even said he's homesick and still smashes it. He's underrated, incredible player. He's a very, very good player, very technically gifted footballer, and we all like seeing players like that play football. Andy's saying, I'm sure Silky got some Elon Musk vaccine since he's had COVID. He's been incredible. Yeah, whatever they pumped him with's not doing too bad, eh? We take those. Gundo, 8+1 for the 9-9. I think you just need the 9 there, mate.
Kurt, you made a good point about positionally, and I think I've mentioned this way back at the start of the season when we weren't playing that well. I called him a crab because he always seemed to be going sideways, and now he's moved to, well, he's like a shark now, isn't he? Because he just attacks. But I think that's the biggest thing that's changed.
I think it's a thing that I see a lot of other clubs have a go at players for is about sideways passing. I think people need to understand that if the player who's playing the sideward pass is only playing the sideward pass because he believes that the progressive pass available options aren't conducive to actually a high success rate, you know? So you could argue maybe they aren't gifted enough on the ball to make these incredible passes, but most defensive midfielders aren't deep line playmakers. They're just ball winning midfielders. And you wouldn't expect a ball winning midfielder to be a good progressor of the ball. And Gundogan's not a defensive midfielder. If he's not really a box to box player. He sits on the edge of the box, plays in between the lines. So it's about using the players' characteristics and their best strengths. And I think sometimes people get overblown with this whole sideways backwards narrative, not necessarily in just City, but in football in general. I think I'd rather my team keep hold of the ball than needlessly lose it. You know what I mean?
Keep the ball, but yeah, I think Rodri's been able to do that sideward passing for him now, and then everyone jumps on. And I was just frustrated with Gundo and Laporte. Laporte in this game because of that, like I mentioned before, just because he had the opportunities. But I totally agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, and let's see if I've missed anyone else. CM City gave an 8. Addy's saying, first player Pep brought in. We brought him in when he was injured. That's how important he is to Pep. This must be amazing for them. Yeah, like we all knew. I don't know. I can't say all the people that obviously people that watched him at Dortmund and knew what kind of player he was. And yeah, it's a shame that it took him so long to sort of get that thing. But when you got Yaya Toure, David Silva and stuff in your team, it's difficult to really get in, make your impact and be used in the position you want to be used in. But all good things come with time, and it's working out very well for Mr. Gundogan at the moment. And just looking back at all the scores to try and get a gauge, I think we're going to have to probably go with a few 7s and a few 8s. So I think we're going to have to go with a 7.5 for Mr. Gundogan on that one. I would have given him a little bit higher for me, but like I said, it's not about me. It's about the player ratings. And let's just read what Simon Pajowski thought of Gundogan. He said, worked himself into some promising positions, but his radar was a bit off for much of the game, prompting too many attacks to break down in the right space where it's needed when it mattered, though, and gave him a 7. Don't necessarily agree with that, but fair enough. That was his rating. And that concludes the midfield 3. And now we're moving on to the front 3. We'll start off on the left side, and it was Raheem Sterling who comes in for stick at times. But I thought it was a difficult game for Sterling. I think he suffered from the lack of space on that channel with Colgate and what's his face? Can't even remember the guy's name now. Names are gone. Mina and Godfrey on that side. I think Godfrey's pace helped a lot. I think he had a bit of a poor game, but wasn't as poor as I think some people made out. Let's not forget that it was an absolutely exceptional save from his shot in the first half from the Fernandinho breakthrough. I think when you're the first one out the front 3 to get put off, people will assume you didn't have a particularly good game. But I just didn't think that with the way the game panned out, that it wasn't particularly well suited for Sterling. I didn't think he had a great game, and I gave him a 6.5. He tried a lot, but it just really wasn't coming off for him tonight. I don't know what your thoughts were on Sterling. Ross?
Yeah, he did. He was on the left, wasn't he? So I was trying to think who was on the right for. Was it Coleman, Holgate, and Sigurdsson on their right hand side?
I believe so.
So, I think, and that was part of it. I actually think Everton changed their lineup for Sterling.
Yeah, but that's what I said to you when in regards to the Keane not starting, because I think they didn't select him because of the pace.
But I'm like you. I didn't think again. I give this for a lot of players today. I didn't think he did anything really bad. I thought he actually helped us because he took players away from the play because they were doubling up on him. So he generated space, which Sterling always does for City. I just feel he gives us much better balance. My rating for this game was a 6.5. I don't think he was the worst player on the pitch, and he wasn't the best. He'll have better games for City. He had a good chance, which I thought was one of the good saves from the keeper. And just to remind some of the people who and I've always been in his corner, but he's been involved in 23 goal scoring or goals or creations this year, which is the same as KDB. So people need to have a little bit of a reality check sometimes with Sterling. If teams as good as Everton are putting 3 players on him, that's for a reason.
Yeah, this what I always say with Sterling. If Sergio is not in the front 3, Sterling is the one who's going to get focused the most out of any of our forwards because he's the most deadly. So, like I said, he didn't have his best game, but he had Coleman, Holgate, Sigurdsson, a lot of players on that side. Yerry Mina coming over at times. Even Calvert-Lewin was coming back on that side. It was. Yeah, one of those. But let's see what some of the guys in the comments thought before we go on to Simon Bajowski's thoughts. We're starting off with Sharif's going for a 5.5. Brian saying Sellers been class for so long and it was just an off day, unfortunately. Standard 5. He'll be all right next game. I think I can agree with you there, mate. It's one of those, isn't it? It's one of those. Addy's saying this was a rough one for Sterling, not going to lie. Yeah, it's difficult when you're a player that just attracts so much attention and you don't perform always. It's one of those. Sterling's going to get headlines throughout his career, and that's just the way it's going to be, unfortunately, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. Neil's gone. Sterling, 6, struggling for form. But just like Arnie, he'll be back. Andy's gone with 6, made some great runs, just needs some confidence. Yeah, it's difficult to make good runs when there's just no space. Absolute none. That's why I thought him taking off was more of a tactical thing rather than a you're playing rubbish, get you off the pitch sort of thing. But yeah, people won't always equate that. They always say first one that gets off, that's the one that was playing the poorest. But, I thought Bernardo Silva was had a far poorer game than Sterling, personally. CM's gone with a 6. Sharif already went with a 6. Formidable's gone with a 6.5. Anthony saying Sterling, we need him to start firing. Yeah, he will be back to his best. Like I say, you can have an off day, especially when you've got the other boys around you to pick up the slack if you are having a bit of an off day. Lachau's gone with a Rocco's gone with a 6.5. Ray Fernley's gone with a 5.5. Jack's gone with a 5, giving the ball away too much, Paul. Yeah, I think it's just in his trying to make things happen. I think he would try to make like 5 or 6 dribbles. I think 4 of them were successful. Gave the ball away like 3 times, I think. So, yeah, when you're trying to do things with it, it's the same with Kevin De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne is not going to have 90% pass accuracy because he's not doing simple passes that Rodri would do or rotational possession-based passes that Rodri would do. So it's just one of those. Anthony's gone with a 6.5. Tyrone's gone with a 7. Andy's saying Coleman and Sigurdsson on the right, Mina and Allen tucking in, yeah. And they also had Mina coming over to their side, like you said. There's a lot of defenders, a lot of
Holgate was on that side.
That's why he got picked, because of his pace. Godfrey and Holgate are rapid when it comes to as far as centre backs go. Godfrey's quality, he's going to be a brilliant player in the future. Happy for him getting his shot in the under-21s. He's been brilliant every time he shows out for them. Because of Sterling, that Laporte had space. Exactly, mate. But the problem with that is Sterling was off the pitch, no? At that time. Right? Am I going nutty? Am I going crazy? When was the subs? Sterling came off for 80 for De Bruyne. Yeah, so, he wasn't on the pitch. Yeah, I just wanted to double confirm that before I talk it out my arse. Yeah, he wasn't on the pitch when Laporte... but yeah, in the first parts of the game where Ross was saying Laporte wasn't taking advantage of it, you could be correct there. Very much so. Ray saying Sterling looks burnt out. I don't know if he looks burnt out. I think it's just difficult for him. We need a little bit more up front from the other side to take the pressure off him a little bit. This season, Sterling looked bad. I don't necessarily agree with that, mate. I think he's had some bad games, but I just think the light shines brighter on him than it does on other players, and that's just the way it's always going to be with him. He's English. He came for a big fee.
23 goal contributions, the same as KDB.
Yeah, Andy's saying here, Sharif, Raz has 13 goals and 10 assists for a winger. That's probably average for any other winger at any other club, exactly. And if he's having a poor season with those stats, then he can keep having poor seasons for me, mate. I do not mind. Yeah, and there's still possible 10 games to go. Exactly, Andy, mate, exactly. I think, I don't mind people saying he had a bad game, but to say that Sterling's had bad seasons, I think it's just disingenuous, personally. Ghost of Gradeson, hello, mate. Hope you're doing well. He says, hi, Ross and Kurt. Hello, mate. This is it. This is it, Ray. This is it. This is it. Sterling sets the bar high. It's the same with KDB. It's the same with Sergio. It's the same with a lot of these players. When you set your standards so high, when you don't meet that standards, people have the right to say you didn't get up to your standards. But just because you weren't up to your standards doesn't mean you had a bad game, because relative to other people, it might still be a really good game. So everything's got to be taken with a little bit of perspective and a little bit of a pinch of salt, especially when you're playing against a 5-3-2 that's sitting ridiculously deep and a winger that loves space, and there is absolutely none of it. But let's have a look and try and aggregate the scores from this Sterling one, because it was a bit here and there, really. There was some 7.5s, there was some lows down as 5s, a few 6s in there, a few 6.5s. I think about a 6.5 seems reasonable. I'm just trying to have a look. I think there's a lot of 5.5s. There's a few 7s, so we'll go with a solid 6 for Sterling. Not the best game, but by no means a terrible game. And let's see what Mr. Brzezowski. One second. Andy's just saying, I'll be honest, if Pep thought Raz was rubbish, he simply wouldn't play him. Exactly. And Jack Lee's just agreeing with us, saying he has not had a poor season. Look at his stats. Yeah, exactly. It's one of those, isn't it? Billy's saying it's difficult to judge players like Sterling when you have teams sitting back. Exactly, mate. It's not just that. He doesn't want the ball at his feet running at players. He wants space in behind, and he's got none of it. He's got absolutely none of it. And Andy completely agrees with you there, Billy. But let's just see what Simon Brzezowski thought of Sterling, saying he looked sharper than anyone else in the first half since the derby, and a pushed Everton keeper closer than anyone else before the goal came after he'd been taken off, and he gave Sterling a 7. So gave him a little bit higher than your points. I think he's pretty fair. Him and Foden looked like the only ones scoring in the first half, that's for sure. But yeah, that was Sterling. And moving on to the other side, we had Foden getting his chance on the right-hand side, which is never a position I like seeing Foden play. I don't think it suits him very much, but he did well for England there, and he didn't have particularly the worst game there. I thought he was trying to take his chances. I think he snapped at a couple of the shots, could have had a little bit more calmness. I think Bernardo being on the right side was good because it let him come inside and Bernardo take the right-hand berth a couple times, because it lets him come a little bit more inside and know that someone's going to cover the outside space, which is nice. I don't really feel like as I said earlier, I don't feel like we see the best of him on the right-hand side, but I still think he had a decent game. And where did I give him? Where's my list? Where's my numbers gone? I'm losing them. It's all going a pot. There it is. And I gave him the same as Sterling. I gave him a 6.5. But I might be a bit harsh there. I want to know what your thoughts on Foden were, Ross.
Yeah, again, I thought, I think we come to expect a lot of Phil now. I'm not sure, like you, the right side is the place. I thought he carried the ball well, he moved around well, but he was dying he seemed to just want to be in a different possession. And I think with a bit more support, like when KDB plays with Foden, I think they'd look really good together. And I gave Foden a 7, so I thought he was better than Sterling and better than some of the players that I've given the 6.5 today.
I think what's also telling is he was when we made the sub for Mahrez, obviously for Bernardo, he was asked to go inside, and then when KDB comes on for Sterling, he was asked to go out to the left. So it's obvious Pep trusts him in a variety of roles and trusts his flexibility. So that's definitely something to give him. Like I said, I might be a little bit harsh on my ratings, but I felt like he was snatching at things, and he didn't have the composure that he showed in quite a lot of the games this season. I think, like you said, I didn't feel like he was particularly comfortable in that right-hand side, but it's an absolute credit to him. He has the flexibility and trust in Pep to be put in positions like that ahead of players like Mahrez and Torres, who are natural to that position. So that's only a credit to him. Like I said, I might have been a little bit harsh in my comment in my original score.
He was that. I think he was doing what I wanted Laporte to do. So he was that one player who was willing to drive. We saw Ferner do it with that great run he had, but he was and then we saw Laporte in the last 15 minutes do it. But again, I think it was down to a bit of positional play, players coming on the pitch like KDB and Mahrez, like you've mentioned. But I think at that point, Foden was the one who was willing to drive and carry the ball.
Yeah,
Very versatile, Mr. Versatile, Kurt. I think.
Yeah, he's turning to that. He is turning to that. But let's see what some of the guys in the comments thought about Foden before we get on to Simon Pajowski's thoughts. Brian's given Foden a 7. Anthony's agreeing with a 7. Sharif's giving him a 7.5. Formidables went with an 8. Lachelle Blue said 8.5, one of his best games. I don't think it was one of his best games, but fair enough for your point, mate. Man City Fan TV, Andy himself said Foden was excellent in playing in an unnatural position, looked like one of the only black who could carry the ball. Then Ferner and Laporte followed an 8. So he's giving him a much higher score than me. Like I said, I might have been a little bit harsh in my ratings, given obviously the context of what we guys talk about, but I'm not going to go back on what I wrote down because that's not very don't do that. Don't go back on your word. Jack's giving him a 7.5. Stockport Iniesta. Neil went with a 7. Foden, he's becoming very consistent no matter where he plays. Yeah, he's got a level of consistency in terms of his stats for the amount of minutes he's played is incredible. That's something that can't be understated. It's really impressive. CM City went with a 7. Ray gave Foden an 8. Sharif saying Foden could be a monster in the future. He's a monster right now, mate. He's only going to get better. He's not going to get any worse. Spot on, Kurt. Pep trusts him in several positions. I think that's the biggest takeaway you can take from this game in terms of Foden is that how much Pep trusts him. Because let's have it right. Torres hasn't had a lot of games, and he trusted him over Torres. He trusted him over Mahrez. He could have put Bernardo there. Went with KDB in midfield. Like, you got a hats off to the lad. His energy makes up for some of the others. Yeah, I definitely think him and Bernardo in the team had a lot of energy and just driving with the ball and just sort of that young sort of just energy, just energy in general. And I really like it when both of them are on the pitch. Ghost is saying the thing was always there, a free man due to the shape. Yeah, that's the difficulty was just the shape of their team was difficult for our wide players to really get anyone isolated just because they had the extra man constantly. So yeah, Ross and Andy agreeing both coming from the similar perspective. My voice is going, mate. Lachelle Blue saying thanks, guys. Have to go get ready for work. Cheers, mate. Thanks for joining us. I know it was a bit of an early one. We'll be wrapping up relatively soon. But yeah, let's see what Mr. Pajowski thought of Foden's performance. He says, too honest for his own good again with the first half penalty incident, but none of the players that troubled Everton. But none of the other players troubled Everton with his most willingness to shoot, and he gave him a 7. So I agree with him there. His willingness to shoot is he's happy to take a shot outside the box, inside the box, first time. And I won't take that away from him, but I just didn't think he had his shooting boots on tonight. But let's try and get an aggregate of these scores and see what everyone's saying. A few 7s, a few 8s, a few 8.5, a few 7.5. So I think a 7.5 seems about right for Mr. Foden, given your guys' ratings tonight, which I don't think, like I said, I think I probably rated him a little bit low. I was probably being a bit harsh, but it's similar with Sterling. I have high standards for these players, and if they don't reach them every game, I get a little bit frustrated. And that's okay. You can be frustrated. There's nothing wrong with that. Moving on to the last man in the starting lineup, Jesus, who I thought, going to be honest with you, thought he was very poor. Like Bernardo Silva, his willingness to run and all of that's great, but he lost the ball so much, like a lot. Like I think I counted, like just off the top of my head, I think I counted 5 times that he lost the ball, just like silly, like. And the thing about a Pep team is, you can't. It's all right. You can lose. Like I always say, you can lose the ball if you're. What he does good is when he does lose the ball, he works so hard to recover it. But at the same time, he was giving the ball away just very cheaply for me. I gave him a 6.5. Like I said, I didn't think he had a very good game. No, I didn't. I gave him a 6. Sorry, I'm telling Porky Pies. I gave him a 6. Like I said, I thought the pressing side of the game and all of that side's always there with Jesus, but you just can't give the ball away that much for me. It's just because midfielders are making runs when he's giving the ball away and they're already out of position. We can get burnt in the transition like that very easily. So, like I said, maybe I was a bit harsh on him as well, but I didn't think he had a very good game at all, and I gave him, like I said, a 6. I don't know what your thoughts on Gabby were, Ross?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't his best game. I think everybody knows my views on Gabby, so we won't go into that. Yes, he had the work rate. I agree, Kurt. He did give the ball away. Makes it really frustrating when he does that. Sometimes he seems to, because of his work rate, I think he tries too hard, if that's possible, and he forces the pass rather than going square, going easy, slow down, getting his head up. I gave him a 6 because regardless of him giving the ball away, I didn't think he was like rubbish. But then again, I didn't think he had a great game. So going with a Man City Fan TV ratings as we do when we're on here, he was a 6 for me. But I know one thing: he'll get his head up, he'll train well this week, and he'll grasp his next chance. And players do bad games, can't play well.
Certainly on it. And it's not a surprise that the lowest ratings I gave today were for the front three, and the lack of space they had. It's not a knock on them. That's why there's no 5s or 4.5s or any of this nonsense, because I appreciate the difficulties that they had, but I've still got to be realistic of the performances I saw. So like I said, for me, it was a 6 from Gabby. I was quite disappointed with him because I think losing the ball in the places he was losing is just not acceptable for me. It's just not good enough. It really isn't. But let's see what some of the other guys in the comments thought about Gabby. Starting off with Brian. He's saying Jesus 4. Never rated him since he joined. Equivalent to Martial with them manky lot. Both rubbish. He'd do well at West Brom. There's a reason we're looking at strikers. I think I can agree with you. He had a poor game, mate. Fair enough that you don't rate him. That's a personal opinion. But to think that he's West Brom level, I think, is a bit disingenuous, slightly there, mate, for me. But you're entitled to your opinion, just like everybody else, mate. And Sharif's gone with Jesus as a 7. Brian's just saying he's not good enough for City level. I think he is, mate. I think you're not going to find a second striker that scores as many goals as he does, that causes as little amount of problems, that's going to be on as cheap money that he has, that still has room to grow and that can play multiple positions. But that's my personal assessment on Jesus, and we're all free to agree or disagree on these things, mate. It's all personal perceptions. But I don't mind if you don't like a player, but as long as you're not completely bashing him, baselessly bashing him, that's not right. But Sharif saying he plays good without the ball. It's a definite strength of him, but like I said, with losing the ball, I just didn't think it was good enough for that. Neil Hanstock saying Gabriel 6.5, spent a lot of time fighting with defenders. Yeah, he did, but one of those. Andy's saying Gabby, poor touch throughout, 5.5. Love his work rate as usual. Very frustrating night for him. So basically, just very succinctly put how I thought about Gabby's performance tonight, which is one of those, like we said, for multiple players, you can have off nights. You're allowed, mate. It's a performance-based sport, and sometimes performances aren't always there. It's 0.5%, 1%, 0.25%. Feeling a bit woozy before a game. Silly things can affect you, especially at this level. Ray went with a 5. Jack Lee said, absolute garbage. 4, done nothing. He gives the ball away too much. I don't think he did nothing, but I agree with you with giving the ball away too much, mate. I do agree with you there. For Middles went with a 6.5. Is that saying Iniacho is better than Gabby? I don't even know anymore. It's too early in the morning. It's a
mathematical symbol that means greater than.
Yeah,
so maybe right. Some sort of Pythagoras.
Maybe I'm just reading it wrong. Maybe I'm just confused, mate. I never claimed to be a very intelligent man. Great show, lads. Phone battery slow. See you soon. Okay, mate. Cheers. Cheers for staying committed, mate. Yeah, no chance for this match for Gabby. No chance really for a lot of the strikers. It took a run from Laporte to break them down, really, and then they had to come out. Yeah, let's see if there's any more before Gabby, before I go on to Simon Bajowski. And I think, that's what I thought it was saying, but I didn't want to have a go at the guy because I like
greater than. It's greater. It's definitely a massive
greater than. It's great. It's a greater than, but I just can't figure out which way round it is because it's too early in the morning for me, mate. It's just too early in the morning for me. But let's see what Mr. Bajowski said. Excellent at winning the ball back, but unfortunately kept giving it away in the first place. an industrious performance, but not a particularly threatening one, and he gave him a 6. I think Simon Pajowski has been stealing my comments, mate. I think he has, mate. He's been stealing everything. Pretty much. Oh, what can I say, mate? If I was in the presser, I'd love that, getting asked Pep questions every week. What a great life that would be. But yeah, rough game for all of the front boys, but he did what he needed to do. So let's try and get an aggregate. Some low 4s, a few 6.5s, a few 5s, 5.5. So I think a 5.5 is probably about even for the aggregation of that. Like I said, not his best one, but you're allowed those. And regards for the substitutes, obviously Mahrez got the most time. We normally don't do people who only get sort of like 5 or 10 minutes, but obviously Kevin De Bruyne made quite a big impact. So we will do Kevin De Bruyne as well, but it'll be really quick for these two. Obviously Mahrez came on at 64 minutes. I thought he had a decent game. Just he's got that little bit of something else that sometimes you need that some of the other players in City don't necessarily have, I think. And he's a player. He's not generally my style of player, but I enjoy watching him in this City team because I think he offers something a little bit different. And I gave him a 6.5. Didn't have a lot of time, but he did well. If he would have been on longer, I probably would have got a better score. But I don't know what your thoughts were Mahrez and his impact on the game.
I find it really hard to rate subs, especially when came on in 64, right? So he didn't play that, but I think he did change the game. So I give him a 6.5.
Yeah, that's the same for me. Normally, I'm not really a big fan of rating subs just because most of the time it's inconsequential. But I thought those two particular players, Mahrez and De Bruyne, deserved the mention just because of the impact in the game. So, like I said, real quick for these boys. So get your comments in. I'll just quickly read what Simon Bajowski had to say about Mahrez. Said made a difference with the way the team shifted, even if he didn't see much of the ball, and gave him a 7. So pretty reasonable there. Andy's agreeing with you exactly, Ross. Yeah, I know it's difficult, but I thought the impact that he had in the game worried him getting a rating tonight. And obviously, Kevin De Bruyne has got to get one just because, an assist and a goal. You know what I mean?
I think Andy's agreeing with me about greater than pivot.
Oh,
and inverted.
You can tell it's the morning here, mate. I've only had one cup of tea. You know what I mean? But let's see what some of the guys are saying. Mahrez the saver, 7.5. That was KDB. Mahrez a 7. Yeah, like I said, we're just going to go real quick for Mahrez. So we'll just bang him at a solid 7. Typing's not my strong point. A solid 7.5. Can't argue with that. Came on, helped the team, and did what he needed to do. And obviously, Kevin De Bruyne, he only got 10 minutes, but his impact was still quite large in the game. I thought he really stepped up. Top bloke. Love the guy. Don't hurt yourself on the international break, mate, and come back safe. For me, it was just I don't really want to give him a rating, but if I was going to give him a rating, I'd say 8 because he scored a goal and helped the other goal. I don't know. What were your thoughts on Kevin De Bruyne?
It's KDB, isn't it? I'm going to give him. I'm giving him an 8 just because he's KDB and he had his haircut. So haircut.
I how can you reasonably rate a 10-minute performance? But the geezer got a goal and helped in the other goal. So I just wanted to give him a mention.
He changed it, didn't he? Mahrez changed it a little bit.
This is what Andy's saying. Yeah, KDB changed the game for me. On that alone, the goal 8. Yeah, that's exactly it. Normally, we never do people with 10 minutes because it's most of the time a waste of time and not really relevant to give them a score over 10 minutes when maybe they touched the ball like 6 times in that time. But yeah, he came on, did what he needed to do, and showed why he's one of the leaders in our squad. He's a top bloke. Is our Kevin De Bruyne. Sharif's giving him an 8, and Centurions is giving him a 10. Yeah, well, if you're going to come on in 10 minutes and you do that, yeah. You got the hashtags coming. Hashtag haircut. Money. Yeah, KDB and Mahrez, I think they were two. They did change it. They showed their quality. Jack Lee's given KDB an 8, second best signing since Aguero. Yeah, behind Fernandinho. That's the other one I was thinking, but I was like, I can't put KDB ahead of Dino, mate. I love Dino. Feel like I'm a Judas if I did that. But yeah, let's see what he had a few comments about Kevin De Bruyne. Crucial part in the first goal. then gets his own, and he gave him an 8. So yeah, not really much to talk about there in terms of on that, but I thought quality. So that's KDB. We'll just give him a solid 8 from what everyone's saying. So we'll take that, and that concludes the player ratings portion. Like I said, not the greatest performance, but I was really happy that we got the job done. And 2-0 is probably a bit flatter of a scoreline, but we take those. Moving on to the community poll that's been up for a little while, and that was for man of the match. And the winner of man of the match for the game was Fernandinho with 58% of the votes. Coming in second place was Gundogan with 16%, Foden with 13%, Laporte with 9%, and Diaz in the last out of the people given as an option with 4%. I completely agree with your community poll, guys. I would have given it Dino every day of the week, twice on Sunday. What about you, Ross?
Yeah, Ferner. And I was just about to say, probably the only person who pushed him for man of the match actually was probably KDB at the end of it. But Ferner for me was out and out, just man of the match. And I just think he's shown in that game, like he always does, that he is at least worth another year if he wants it.
Yeah, like I said earlier in the show, whatever the guy wants, let him have it, because he's one of the last few players that have that right for me in this squad. And him and Sergio, for me, they've contributed so much to our history and our club and what we are now and where we've come from. I just think these are the people we're going to look back at 20 years' time, and we're just going to be like, wow, you remember when we had them? Even if we have a great team in 20 years' time, they're never going to be forgotten, these players, just because of what their contribution to the club is. And I just can't say thank you enough to the man himself, mate. What a great bloke. And before we jump off, obviously we got Chelsea in the next round. Any thoughts about that? I think they're going to be a tough game. They don't concede many goals, and they look like a decent outfit with a lot of confidence. It's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a tough one. And, it's going to be one of them games where if we're not careful, we could get very frustrated in that game because they're just set up to defend, clean sheets and take the chances. He's done a great job with the same players. He's got them contending for the FA Cup. They're still in the Champions League. They're still in a shout at getting 4th place. I think before he came in, they'd been written off in a lot of those. So you've got to give him a nod to what he's done. But yeah, I think it's going to be a tough game. There's no doubt. But I still fancy us. I think we've got the minerals to do it. But yeah, tough game.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. Obviously, it was probably the hardest team left in there. But it's on the 17th of April. I'm not exactly sure what fixtures are on either side of that. But it's at any rate, it's going to be fixture pile up for days at the end of this season. So hopefully the boys can put out a good performance, and hopefully we have enough on the day to be able to get through. But obviously it's a bit of a ways down the way. We've got quite a few fixtures beforehand. I just wanted to get your initial thoughts on the draw. Obviously there's only 3 other teams you can get, so you don't really care who you get. You got to win the games to get to the final. But up to Wembley, as we always been, again and again and again, we just keep going down south to London. We just must like the weather down there or something. But yeah, it was absolutely fantastic, and I'm always grateful to be in the next round. And I just want to say before we get off, I know that obviously a lot of people won't be able to catch this live, so any of the guys watching it back, like I said earlier on, please don't forget to put your player ratings in the comments so we can have a little look at that for all the guys that didn't get their opportunity to say it on the live. And because we always read in the comments, always making sure we love hearing from you guys and what your thoughts on the game were. And if there's anything else you want, obviously pop it down in the comments below. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe. Thanks as always for Ross for coming on the show. It's an absolute pleasure. I know this one's gone on a little bit long. I didn't expect to be on an hour and a half, but talking City is what we love doing, so why not, mate?
No worries, mate. Thanks a lot for having me. I'll be off to bed now to get up for work in the morning, because obviously I'm in the future, so I'm a day closer to the next City game. But thanks for having me, Kurt. I hope you and everyone on here has a great day. Stay safe. Don't forget to press like and subscribe, guys.
Yeah, definitely, because I don't know what we got planned over the international break, but I'm sure there's going to be stuff on the community polls, other videos coming out. So make sure you get your notifications on and have all of that. Thanks for everyone who's joined us. I know it was a bit of a different time, and I know a lot of you are probably surprised with the time, but this is just the only time I had available to get it in. Thanks again, as I say, for Ross for coming to join me. It's always great to have someone to chat with. And thanks for everyone in the comments for getting involved, as always. And like I said, as always, up the Blues. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and take care. Bye-bye.